This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Jobber of the Week, George Feis, and today we are breaking down the best and worst of the Elimination Chamber. We are also covering the 2K24 roster news, Fight Forever Season 3, a RetroMania update, and so much more.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod, along with the show notes, Discord access, live recordings, giveaways, and so much more.
You got somewhere to be?
I have been watching so much Family Feud lately.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. That was pretty good, right?
I
didn't even get tongue-tied. Wow.
I am equally as impressed by you doing that as when we used to record at Creator Pro, and I would do the outro off script, and you'd be like, he can't read it from the notes when it's in front of him, but he can do it from memory with nothing in front of him.
That's right. Improv geniuses over here. Anyway, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I feel like this is the first time in a long time that we've had, like, there have been big news days where we've covered a lot of content from an individual game, like, you know, when 2K24 announced, when there were big releases for Fight Forever. It's been a long time since we've had a lot of breaking news covering multiple games and multiple updates.
Feels good, doesn't it? Feels like
crazy.
We're back in like 2021 when things started rolling again. But before we get into that, let's talk about Giant Graham 2000 All Japan Pro Wrestling 3 we played last week. I think this one came out of nowhere as just a heavy hitter, as a good game. People in our community saying that we've been on kind of a roll of games that they never heard of before, and they're going to check them out. And this one is like pretty much on top of the list for most people.
I think that's one of, obviously the main goal of the podcast has always been to play all the wrestling video games. That's always been like the main motto of the podcast. But it's also, that's like the second part, is to like shine a light and, you know, make people aware of games that they either never heard of or never got around to playing when they were first available, and then they kind of like forget about them, and we're able to shine a light.
They're not available in the United States.
That's also another
is
thing.
A lot of games that we've played, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's the majority of the games actually are international releases.
But let's get into it here. What you were talking about before. 2K24 is coming soon. It's only a few weeks away, which is pretty crazy. I'm very excited for it. We played 2K23 for our playthrough today. I've been playing My Rise mode off pod, so we could kind of, I want to finish some things out before I don't touch the game again because the new one's out. But it has been revealed that the executive soundtrack producer this year is none other than Post Malone. I don't know a single song on here other than his own song. There's two of them. I only know one of them. I don't know anyone else on this list. I know who Busta Rhymes is. Couldn't tell you any of the others.
I think you would. Well, I know both Post Malone songs. I know the Busta Rhymes song. I think you would really like Turnstile.
Sounds familiar. I might know it, but
you know who's a really big Turnstile fan? Iron Savage Bronson.
You have to remember my friend's name.
Well, no, I was gonna say Bear Bronson, but then I remembered that's not his name anymore.
Oh yeah. Well, definitely we're gonna get used to this soundtrack before I turn it off and flip it to just entrance theme songs, because that's what everyone usually does. But Post Malone also posted a video on the WWE Games channel saying that he's been scanned for the game. So he's this year's Bad Bunny. He's this year's Machine Gun Kelly. We're getting Post Malone in the game, and I think I would take him over either of those any day.
Yeah, this is okay. This is a good like soft lock kind of question. Who's going to be, or if we had to book, like who else is in there? Do you bring back Fred Durst? Revive that cameo?
You have to. I mean, you know me. I would put in all older stuff, some like Nirvana, some Foo Fighters.
Oh, Dave, can you imagine WWE 2K25 soundtrack curated by Dave Grohl?
And the way they've been going, you could play as the person. That's got to be one of our best and worst of episodes of musicians in games, because I mean,
they go back pretty far.
Now they're going on with these too. So
that's 2028. We'll we'll do that.
So the ratings have also been revealed for wrestlers, and I think it's pretty cool. They've been rolling them out weekly on Raw and SmackDown as well. As the person enters the ring, it gives their 2K rating, and that's also how some of the roster has been confirmed up until today, where the full roster has been revealed. I really like when I feel like for years, other than playing like the commercial once in a while, they didn't really talk about the game much. But the past few years, they've been putting a little more emphasis on the game. And I don't know if that's from the failure of 2K20. Maybe they were like, hey, we could use a little help too, like actually acknowledging that this thing exists. Or if it's all coming together again.
I think it's just kind of that mindset of like, hey, we're all on the same team here. Like this is all under the WWE umbrella. Like it should be promoted the same way that you would promote the shows, just, promote the game too. It's the same, this is all under WWE.
Yeah. They've been posting a lot of entrances also. And the one that hit me specifically was Jey Uso, because it's the one where you could really see how big the arena looks, the stage looks. Like the set now, it's just like a giant LED. It looks so cool in video game form. I
wanted to open it up again and just scroll through the roster. It's massive.
Yeah.
This is an insane amount of people in this game.
It is. And I see a lot of people complaining also about the roster. I really don't know who's excluded. There was a moment today where Drew was excluded. I don't know if they added him back to the list, but obviously Drew McIntyre is going to be in the damn game.
And you don't know who may be planned for, maybe they're doing additional showcase modes. Maybe they're doing additional DLCs. Maybe you're getting showcase Drew and he's not a part of the regular roster.
Yeah, he's still not on the list, which is kind of weird.
I wonder if maybe it's that. Maybe they haven't released the full list of all the showcase matches yet, and you're getting Drew McIntyre, but you're getting, Thunderdome WrestleMania winning the title Drew McIntyre. So it's technically like an unlockable.
They're probably not going to advertise that one these days either. So, yeah. Drew Gulak, though, is coming back as the tutorial man, which is always fun, always cool.
I really like what they've done in the past. Is it just last year or is it the past 2 years with the tutorials where it's Drew?
I want to say 2 years because I remember playing it on the PC and I had 22 on PC.
Yeah, they've done a good job making it feel more eventful in the sense of like how they walk you through stuff. It's not like Xavier Woods walks you through my GM and universe mode. Like it's cool. They make it entertaining where you want to pay attention because like it's not just like a text pop-up of like, hey, here's a little tooltip window that pops up of like, hit this button and this happens.
It's going to be fun. I can't wait. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, AEW Fight Forever has released Season 3 DLC, which includes Swerve Strickland, Claudio Castagnoli, Jamie Hayter, who we haven't seen in a while, plus a brand new day and evening beach map, which I have seen a lot of lately. People are enjoying just wrestling out in the ocean and on the beach. 42 new skins and attire options, new moves, and premium music tracks. I saw the music tracks were available for free download for everyone. I didn't do it yet because I don't really care that much. And I like listening to my friend Max Caster during the games. But I also saw something pretty weird that they released creator wrestlers created by like Kenny Omega, Britt Baker, like Orange Cassidy. They went in and created a wrestler. I
think that's from their creator wrestlers from AEW Arcade, like their streaming show.
Yeah, now you could play as who, and I don't know who would pick them, honestly.
It feels like they could have used that like those 4 character like DLC slots to do something better with, but maybe there are people, maybe it was, their suggestion, maybe they really, petitioned for this to happen so that their creator wrestlers were in the game as like an homage to AEW Arcade and the live streams and everything leading up and behind the scenes of Fight Forever. So
yeah, we'll see. Either way, I guess they're just trying to load some more stuff in. I don't think they're doing. I don't know how to word this. I don't want to say I don't think they're doing things wrong, because there's still a lot that's messed up with this game. I think they might be on the right track. I don't know if they're going to cyberpunk this. I always say that, like, turn the game around completely. But there might be like a little glimmer of hope there.
I think they are making a more focused effort to not only make more regular updates, but the content seems to be more expansive, where it's not just like, hey, here's a couple of costumes, it's behind a paywall. Like they're you know what? The easiest way to say this, they're listening to people.
Kinda. I'm just curious.
It seems like they're heading in the direction.
I'm just curious, at what point don't you get these DLC anymore, that they go away? Or at what point do you get them in bulk? Or at what point do you get them as a discount? Because I know UFC games, there was one where you got 2 fighters for pre-order. But then at a certain point, when you downloaded the game, I think on Game Pass or whatever, you just got them.
Oh.
So, I mean, first of all, that's a big screw you to the people who pre-ordered. And second, it's just like, cool. Oh, cool. Okay, I didn't have to really work for this. It's just there.
That's... I think I feel like I remember that happening, but I can't remember what game you're talking about.
It was the last game, so 4. 3. 3.
Yeah. 3.
What are we up to now? 4?
I think it's 4.
5? Who cares?
Slide. They lost me when they just started doing individual numbers. I'm too confused now.
Lost me when they started putting out the same game every year. Now, RetroMania Wrestling. As of today, you sent this to me early in the morning. It got me super excited. I know you played it all day.
I did.
Retrosoft Studios announced that the new and free update for RetroMania Wrestling is now live across the board on all platforms. You get James Storm and Mr. Hughes. You get the NWA Arena. I'm not going to go through this entire list, but you get the new story where you could finally finish the story mode. There's no more to be continued. They updated some finishers. They just did a whole slew of updates to guys have new costumes, new animations for moves. It's going to be so cool. Now, I got to say, we give other games and other developers a lot of crap for taking a long time. I see you typing. You're going to look up the same thing I just looked up. This game was released 3 years ago, almost exactly. That's a long time to finish a career mode.
It's a very long time, and from what I can remember, there has not been a lot of communication as of what's been going on.
No, so we got Chris Bay at some point, who actually is a lot of fun to play as in the game.
Oh, yeah. And then they announced Mr. Hughes and James Storm.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
Yeah, and then...
I could have sworn the NWA Arena was already in there. It seems like so long ago.
Well, they have power. They had power. Now they have...
gotcha.
Like regular NWA.
Okay. So, I mean, it's cool that you get to finally finish it. They did a complete AI overhaul. The difficulty levels adjusted. I fixed pretty much everything.
I will say this. The game itself feels better. Like, am I upset that it took 3 years to get it? Yeah, I wish that, it didn't take this long. But sometimes it's worth the wait. I wish it came sooner, but I'm more pleased now with the state of the game and the fact that you can play through story mode and actually finish it, and you're not, going through and, because there's different, you can have different personas. You can be a heel, you can be a babyface, you can be a tweener. Like you can, like depending on the choices that you made throughout the game is how you progress through the story. So, there's 3 storylines. There's countless different match types that you can have because of those, and then you can go through and beat the 10 pounds of gold with any of the wrestlers that are unlocked. And now everything is finished, which is like, it's cool that there's like an end point where you're just like, oh, I beat this. And you get like a cool little end screen when you beat the story mode now with a reference to pro wrestling. It's awesome.
Now, I like that they gave everyone new ring gear because 3 years later, everyone needs an update. And they didn't just kind of forget about it.
It's alternative attires too. You can right bumper, left bumper through.
I like that a lot. Now, again, took 3 years. Now it's done. Maybe now they'll give us more DLC or another project. I guess remains to be seen.
Create a wrestler.
Yeah, I don't know if they could do that with like the cartoony style they're using.
It's
here.
just like pre-made sprites. You have 10 torsos you can pick from, a bunch of random generic heads that you can pick up.
So well for Fight Forever.
I would say it doesn't have to be, but I feel like it works in this sense because it's like retro style. Yeah, like if it was SmackDown 1-ish style where it's just like it's pre-made torsos, there's a couple that are original, but then it's also like you can have I don't know, Brian's torso if you want it and match it with another wrestler's from the waist down and have like mismatched trunks and create your own kind of setup. Like sometimes that kind of stuff is fun. It's like a throwback.
Oh, well, we'll see what they come up with next. It's pretty cool. We've always had a good relationship, great contact, communication with RetroMania. So
yeah,
maybe I'll do some digging. I don't know. We'll see.
I got to send them a bug report anyway, so I found something.
We always find them.
It's just like last time.
All right. With that, are you ready to take the deep dive, take the plunge into this week's, not game, but games into the Elimination Chamber?
Let's go. Guys, if you want your beard to be soft and smell great, then you need Mad Cat Beard Care. Their products are all natural and made to order with vitamins and natural oils to moisturize your skin and to help make your beard healthy and strong.
Our exclusive scent, Play It Forever, is a blood orange, black clove, and vanilla scented beard balm or beard oil that can make your beard have a rich but not overpowering scent. Plus, a portion from their sales go towards finding care for stray cats, covering their medical bills and finding them safe places and forever homes.
Use code GameMarks to save yourself 15% when you place an order over at madcatbeardcare.com. That's 15% off with code GameMarks. And remember, the Mad Cat makes a happy beard. All right, the deep dive is brought to you by our friends over at Mad Cat Beard Care. Use code GameMarks to save yourself 15% off on our signature scent. Play It Forever with notes of blood orange, vanilla, and black clove.
So nice.
We are breaking down the best and the worst of the Elimination Chambers today, and we have got to start with the first and possibly, in some people's minds, maybe still the best WWE SmackDown. Here comes the pain.
Okay. I said it earlier when we played our playthrough. I don't remember it going back this far. If you would have asked me, I would have said like SmackDown versus Raw 2006.
Yeah.
The fact that they took this brand new, innovative Elimination Chamber and got it in what people call the best game almost ever. Some people's favorite games ever. It's very much up there. That's incredible. And not only that, it doesn't change. There's like slight tweaks. It doesn't change for a while.
I think they changed the scale of it, right?
Well, I have everything in here. We'll get through it all. But pretty damn cool. Now the first Elimination Chamber. Let's look that up. November of 2002. So Here Comes the Pain comes out October of 2003. So it's the next release.
Damn.
So Shut Your Mouth does not have this. It has elimination tags. So I think I kind of remember that coming out and everybody like, oh, is the chamber in it? And it wasn't. I could be wrong. But then they really delivered with Here Comes the Pain.
Oh,
But I can't stress enough, like, everything was there. Every aspect of the elimination chamber was in this PS2 game.
and it feels, I don't know, it feels accurate. Like it's got the chain, like the loose climbing chain on the outside. It's got the pods, but
Jump off the pod, jump off the cage, climb the cage. Has the cool spotlight after the timer.
I almost think that this climbing from the turnbuckle, well, I mean, RVD does it. The climbing from the turnbuckle from the top turnbuckle to the top of the pod makes more sense in this game than it does later on when there's a gap.
Yeah. That's kind of like a big leap. I'm sure it's been done by like Kofi or something, but
I'm sure. Well, because these people that are doing it are super athletic, so I'm looking at this as like a couch potato, being like, that looks like it's very difficult to do.
Yeah, now this game, it's a little I think the worst part of the elimination chambers in this game is the HUDs are so big. You have 6 guys in the ring that when somebody gets eliminated, you're kind of like, okay, I could see a little bit more of the screen because it's 2 up top and then 4 on the bottom. That's a lot going on.
You know what my complaint's going to be?
What's that?
That opacity chain.
Yeah, especially when someone's fighting on top and someone's fighting on bottom, the whole screen just stretches.
The how far the camera has to pull back to be able to see everything. At certain points, it just looks like you're like it's like ants wrestling in a shoebox or something. Like it could be a little difficult.
I wouldn't mind if they even went no mercy on this and almost completely got rid of the chain altogether.
Well, they kind of do something like that later on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just pulled in a little more. But all right.
Yeah.
SmackDown vs. Raw, like we said, from every game going forward, we have an elimination chamber. Now, the SmackDown vs. Raw one is kind of similar, but now you could actually see like the ring skirt. There's a little bit more detail surrounding the chamber.
Because this happens in real life, right? It becomes less of a solid structure because in real life, they made it too sturdy and people were getting hurt. So they had to change how the outside of the ring part worked so that it was a little more.
Yeah. I don't know if that big change happens until later, though, when they completely redo the chamber. Yeah. I mean, taking a bump on chains, regardless whether they're loose, tight, it's gonna suck.
Oh, I just remember hearing Bischoff talk in interviews and being like, the first time that we made it, like a lot, like everyone complained about how rough it was, so we had to change it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt it. I definitely don't doubt it. Now, in SmackDown vs. Raw, they added 6-man elimination tags matches to the chamber, where it's now 3-on-3. Could you do tags in Here Comes the Pain? I feel like I saw that on the menu.
Yeah, you can do elimination tag matches in the chamber, which is interesting. I think I prefer play-wise to have, like, that makes sense for like you to do with a buddy or for like us to do for tournaments and stuff. But I think if you're doing just like single player, for me, it's just like gotta do a regular elimination chamber.
Yeah. I know in real life they added tag and you never know what the elimination chamber is going to be for nowadays, which is kind of, You know, back when it started, it was cool. Like, it was for the title. It was awesome.
So different.
Yeah. You also get a new zoom out camera angle added to SVR when the little dun 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 picks the guy over the ring, the spotlight. But now 06, you're finally getting a new HUD, which is just those little, they look like little icons with the belts.
Yep.
So they take up a little bit of less space. They're still not perfect by far. But not much changes. Other than maybe the camera's like a little closer. Like you said, there's going to be changes coming through. SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 really is where we start to see something else. The HUDs are different. They're smaller. Again, they're the little... They almost look like WrestleMania 21 logos.
Yeah, actually, that's...
Yeah, and they got the body meter next to them. But this is the first chamber in HD, and they slightly modified it for the first time.
It's
It's pretty.
Yeah.
That game in general is just pretty, especially on the Xbox. Oh my god.
I feel like SVR as a whole, that whole like, multi-game series is really just like leaps.
Yeah.
When it makes big strides and improvement for the game, it's not like we took a step. It's like we went up like entire staircases.
But especially because like Here Comes the Pain played like very similar to the first SmackDown. Not much change gameplay wise from first one to that. And then you get the SVR and the 06 where they're still kind of tweaking it. 07, damn, like it's now on like 360. It looks nice.
I don't know. This is
no notes. That's what he's going to say.
No, this is the thing that I was going to say. I'm thinking about now. We're going to have to when we get to the end of the list, we got to pick our favorite. And I feel like top 2 is somewhere in this SVR series for me. I just don't know where.
Yeah.
Where does it land for the best one?
Well, unfortunately, the next one, there's not many changes in 08, but there is now a stare down in the beginning of the match.
It's a cinematic improvement to set the environment for the stakes of the match.
When they used to do the big like SmackDown logo into the match, they're staring at each other. SmackDown logo. Now we're back to the actual match. The
things that make it feel more like you're actually watching it on a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Now the difference is these games all the way up to the 2K. I would say maybe up to like 11. 11's probably the cutoff. They are so fast-paced. We're now in the 2K series, especially this year's game. It is just more like real life. It's not people just bodies flying all over, flipping off the top. I don't know. There's that collision that they used to have where you could interrupt a move, you could interrupt a pin from doing anything. They don't have that anymore. Matches are no longer car crashes.
I would say chaotic is the word, I think. Car crash, chaotic. Like there was a certain like unpredictability. And now in the more like recent titles, they kind of feel a little bit almost like it's a more structured type of match. Like the AI is kind of like reading from the notes of how the match was put together.
Yeah. It's possible. Now, 2009, no big changes, pretty similar to 08. 2010, for some reason, in SmackDown vs. Raw 2010, you were not allowed to climb the cage.
Huh.
That was just wiped from the game. I don't know if there was too much in the game. Maybe we could ask Justin Leeper. I'm sure he doesn't know, though, because he only worked on the Road to WrestleMania. And also, they finally started adding more for the Divas, so they're now able to participate in other match types other than the Chamber, the Cell, and First Blood. So other matches they were able to, but this one still not yet. Now, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, they completely redesigned the Elimination Chamber. It's fresh. It looks cool. It's more transparent where you could see like the floor of the arena. You could see the crowd better.
It's just brighter. More open.
Yeah. I think like the angles are even a little bit better where you could see the wrestlers in the pods. They're not so dark and they're angled just slightly different. So you could see like their facial, they do the little like they move in there. They're not just stiff.
I feel like as the matches, as the Elimination Chamber progressed in games, the camera just started getting farther and farther back, which made the match itself more and more enjoyable because you got to see. Because
we're now in 16:9 resolution, not 4:3. So
have you ever been to any pay-per-view where it's been an Elimination Chamber? Whether you were doing like actually at the show or doing extra work?
No.
Like I haven't either, but I would imagine that seeing that in person, the scale of it is probably insane to see in real life. And I feel like that's what you started to get in the video games. Like you could appreciate how cool what the scale of the actual, chamber is. Like that's it. They were just like, you know what? This is a badass looking thing. You should see more of it in the matches.
Yeah. I've only seen steel cages in person, and even those are massive to look at in person. Yeah. I was at TNA Impact when it was like the show before lockdown, and the show started with like a brawl in the cage, and AJ climbed it, and I was just like, for this tiny soundstage, this thing is massive.
And then that makes me think of like, holy crap, how high is Hell in a Cell? How high is Ultimate X? Like
nuts. But also in 2011, climbing is now back.
There we
Now,
go.
12 and 13, new name, same chamber, nothing new in these. But I want to get into 2K14 because this is where things start to get a little different. But before that, I think we're going to take a little break ski. All right, George. 2K14. The first 2K game. The chamber is a little bit tweaked even more. Looks even nicer. You have to for the first 2K game. You're trying to impress your new host, you know? You're talking about transparency. When it zooms completely out, the whole bottom of the chamber just disappears.
Maybe certain elements don't need to be completely transparent, but I will say this. This is when when the game engine starts allowing the implementation of bigger moments and things that you would expect to see on the actual pay-per-view of like the crazy people going through the pods and all this other stuff, because now you're getting the chamber wall OMG moment.
That's right. Now I feel like before this, it was just kind of like a whip in and
you would just like whip and collide, and if you had the strong Irish whip, you could whip them through it, and like the whole panel would just like fall.
And there might be grapples in there. We could be wrong. But this is like the full-on OMG moment where you have to use a finisher slot, and you could do a spear, you could do a tackle, you go right through the chamber wall, which is so
cinematic
cool.
Animation happens, like,
and
it's a little cutscene.
I can't wait to talk about the current game and what we experienced earlier today with that. But now we're going to 2K15. This is the first one on the PS4 and the Xbox One, so the chamber looks absolutely incredible here. It fits in the arena perfectly.
Crisp isn't the right word.
See the damn chains on the links. It's not those big slotted chains anymore that look weird. It actually looks like the Elimination Chamber. It looks like steel. The textures are awesome. This is perfect for the new next-gen consoles.
And it only just continues to get better. Like, think of the jump that we've already made from Here Comes the Pain to 2K15. Like,
it's insane.
The chamber is different. The camera angles is different. The graphics have greatly improved. We've got interaction with the cage. We lose it for a little bit for some odd reason. It comes back, but then they're like, guess what? It's back. We've got OMG moments now, and there's little cinematics that you can do with the pods. Like, I don't think you truly appreciate the evolution of the Elimination Chamber until you see this. Like, it's the same thing with a steel cage, like what we did with the steel cage. Like, you think it's steel cage, oh, they're all the same, but like the graphical tweaks that happen throughout the years, the interactiveness that you can have in the matches throughout the years, and how they evolve and build upon it, like it's so cool.
And it's the chamber. It's just, I don't know, like I feel like it's lost on us because it's been in the game every year, but I still feel like it's such a cool, like just a cool match type and such a massive thing that just ended up in this video, in wrestling in general.
Yeah.
So it's cool that we have it.
I'm 100% with you. So we talked about the jump from 2K15 on the next gen consoles. For 2K16, there's not any real big improvements. Same with 2K17. But then we make the jump to 2K18, and now things get tweaked a little bit more. Now you've got entrances into the chamber, which is cool because notably in the past, you load in, you get your little match graphic, and then whether it was predetermined or randomized, whoever drew 1 and 2, start the match, that's it. Now it's a little bit more of a presentation as to what you would see on a pay-per-view. You get full entrances with people entering with their championships. Like,
Yeah,
it
hand the
feels
championship
realistic.
to the ref. They hold it up. Some of them before this did have entrances, but the chamber wasn't there.
Yeah, it was
Which is
just
so dumb.
stock entrance, like almost like they were just like, and then we lowered the elimination chamber down.
Yeah, but the cool part is like almost everyone has a unique chamber entrance. Like whether it's a pose or a walk, like they're still doing it into the chamber.
Yeah.
So that's
and
pretty
they,
cool.
they have people that go up and they like shake the chains. They like tap on the pods like later on, and like they interact with the elimination chamber in their own way. Which one would really like to talk to someone who did mocap for one of these. Like, how did you determine how Dean Ambrose was going to walk into an elimination chamber and what he would do?
Yeah, and also this year at Elimination Chamber 2017. The new Elimination Chamber was born. Now, this one is more of a square with like straight edges, not rounded edges.
Yeah.
It's
It
a little bit
aligns more with, I guess, like the outside of the ring, like the
yeah, squared circle. Now, I remember specifically a lot of people complaining that the outside now had mats rather than chains, where if you've ever taken a bump in your life, you know it's hard enough to begin with. That 1-inch mat probably feels a world of a difference better than what was there with just chain links, which had to suck.
As a wrestler, John, what is the hardest surface you've ever taken a bump on?
I mean, the floor.
I was gonna say it's probably just like concrete on the outside of the ring, right?
Concrete on the outside of the ring. The mat we had was like paper thin, and I've done turf, which was also not fun because those rubber things just scrape you as you. Like I think I gave Smart Mark a suplex on the turf. We tried to get as low as we can, so the impact was like minimal. But
I feel like turf is deceptive, where you're like, oh, this might have like a little bit of cushion to it. And
yeah. Now the chamber pod has always been random. It wasn't until later that you can change the order also. So I think this is the start of when you can finally do that. Also, your opponents now leave through the door rather than just disappearing into thin air. I think they used to roll
off screen. Yeah, they would roll out of the ring and like stay there and then like slowly just disappear.
Which was so funny. So funny. But I also want to say the HUD here is very out of the way. It's similar to now. It's just kind of on the bottom and small.
Gets better.
We have those HD screens now, so they're a little bit wider and they don't take up too much space. I really like I like that they kept it fresh. They didn't just throw the old chamber in here. They completely redesigned it, and it's pretty cool. You can walk around the turnbuckles now too, which is the same, I assume, in real life. I'm not a real life chamber expert, but it looks like that's what it's modeled after, where the post is not up against the glass.
I would imagine that's probably. I mean, they do a fairly good job of recreating the assets that they use in real life in the game. I would imagine that they would just be like, hey, chamber still looks the same in real life, but for the video game, we'll just make it look something completely different.
Yeah. So really, from then on, that's 18, 19, 20, skip 21, 22, and 23. The chamber has been pretty much the same. It's been spot on from real life. No real changes. Today, me and George played a game. You could check it out on our YouTube. We went back and we played Here Comes the Pain, and then we played 2K23, the first and the latest. I went for one of those big spears into the chamber glass, which was not an OMG moment. It was just a regular move. All I did was press A. That was it. I grappled. I pressed A. I said, oh, I'm about to do a spear. I think, who was it? Alba Fire. She moved out of the way. And me as Becky just launched myself through the glass, and I just laid there for 5 minutes, just dead. So the environment, everything they added to this game, I mentioned before how they're not fast-paced car crashes anymore. You have to kind of take them as like an actual wrestling match, which is what this game has become. And I know people like that and people hate that, so I don't know. I think I like a nice in-between. Like, give me like the later SVRs, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good pace for this because it should be more fun. But playing the new ones, playing them as a sim is also just really cool.
I don't know. I'm like, I think this is the one that has, I don't know, resonated with me the most of all of the best and worst that we've done, because I feel like this has had the most, like this and Hell in the Cell has been the one that you have seen the most. I don't know, like you can see how much has changed throughout the years. Like I said with the Steel Cage, like graphics get updated, interaction and like the style of the cage and the color and stuff like that. But the cage match itself is always the same. Like how the Elimination Chamber, how it's evolved over the years and how it's evolved within the game and how they handled the textures and interaction and the camera angles of that. Like I feel like that and Hell in the Cell have been the ones that have had the most drastic change throughout the years.
Not only that, but just seeing those big structures, like you know, ladder match TLC, you're like, oh, cool, you could use a ladder.
Yeah.
But to see like those big ass structures in a video game from the first time we saw it, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
And I used to play these like the early SVR games with a friend of mine in college who had not watched wrestling since the Attitude Era. We loaded into a game and he was just like, what is this? And I was like, oh, this is the Elimination Chamber. And he's just like, yeah, but what is this? He's like, this doesn't look like wrestling. This looks like something out of like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But also, did you know? Did you know the Elimination Chamber does not appear in any of the GameCube or Xbox exclusive games?
Did you know that the Women's Elimination Chamber match was added in WWE 2K14?
So I don't want to be quoted on that. But in my research, it seemed like 2K14 was the first one that was able to put women in the Elimination Chamber.
Okay.
I know there were mods. There's some mods on YouTube for earlier games. I think 11 had it, 12 had it, but I believe 14 is the first one officially that you can put women in there. But they didn't have, I don't think they had their first chamber match till a few years later.
Yeah, no. I feel like the women's chamber match is more recent.
Yeah, I'm checking out 2018. Elimination Chamber 2018. Yeah. So, I mean, hey, game was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But also pretty strange. Didn't get this in any of the Day of Reckoning, so I think they were a little too early for that. And Xbox. WrestleMania 21, the Xbox, I think also just missed the cutoff.
Focused on other things, yeah, and just missed the cutoff.
Focused on other things, and none of them were executed properly. But now, I want to talk about the arenas here, because the first game, Here Comes the Pain, you have the Survivor Series arena. SmackDown versus Raw, it's in SummerSlam. SmackDown versus Raw 06, 07, and 08 are a New Year's Revolution. Remember that pay-per-view as a thing?
Oh, yeah.
09 and 10 was at No Way Out, which I kind of also forgot that was the pay-per-view it was at. No Way Out always came in between Mania and Rumble, so that's what Elimination Chamber turned into.
Look at you.
And like we said in our playthrough, as you're listening to this, the Elimination Chamber is in 2 days in Perth. So it's at 5 a.m. And I don't know if either of us are going to be watching it in real time. I highly doubt it on a Saturday.
I will watch it.
Yeah. And then SmackDown versus Raw 2011, going forward, it's at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But after all that, George,
is it time already?
It's time to rate the game.
The game!
I want to know your favorite and your least favorite.
All right, so least favorite, it's got to be the ones where you can't climb the cage. Right? Just for the fact of the matter that that's such a cool aspect of the match is to be able to climb and you interact with the pods and do crazy spots off the pods. So we'll say, what is it, 10? You're not able to climb. So SVR 10 we'll say is the worst, just solely based off of that. Best, I don't know. That's tough. Do you have like a definitive answer of what you think is the best?
I have ideas. I
like the chaos of like Here Comes the Pain. Like I think that that's fun, and I think that I've probably played the most Elimination Chamber matches in that game.
I think my least is SmackDown vs. Raw because of the chaos on the screen and the HUDs are just too big and it's very hard to see.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they fix it later.
That's a good reason.
But my favorites are, it's tough between 07, which was the first HD one with the wider screen, or 11, which is the newly designed cage where climbing came back, but it was just such a nice presentation. And like I said, I want that in between realism and that car crash match.
Yeah.
Where bodies are just flying.
Or do you do 14 because now you get the OMG moments?
I think it was just a little slower paced.
Yeah. That's tough. So your definitive best is what year?
I'm going to go with 11.
All right, and your definitive worst?
SmackDown versus Raw.
Okay, and I'm going to say my worst. I'm going to say my worst is 10.
That's a good one because not climbing is a pretty big deal.
Say my worst is 10, and I'm going to say my favorite. Yeah, I'm going to go OG. We're going to say Here Comes the Pain.
All right. Respectable. All respectable. And of course, after you listen to this episode, please let us know what your favorite and your least favorite Elimination Chamber are in video games.
All right. But with that, John, are you ready to get into this week's softlock question?
Let's go.
Wow. All right, the soft lock brought to you by our friends over at W. Use code GameMarksPod to save yourself 10% when you go to w.gg. Get yourself some jitterless free energy. And this week, the soft lock question comes from our good friend Soups, Jamie Patterson, and the soft lock is segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon asks us a question, a topic to debate. It's a question of the week with a fancy name. And this week, the question is, describe the perfect GMP handheld. What are the number of buttons? Is that thumbsticks? Wi-Fi connectivity? Multiple screens?
The man in the chat right now, Jamie Patterson.
Oh, man. That's tough. So handheld, we're talking like Tiger Electronic handheld?
I mean, a handheld. Is it a Steam Deck? Is it a Game Boy? Oh, you call those mobile devices. I think that's where the disconnect is here.
Well, no, because if it's a GMP specific handheld, it wouldn't be like a Game Boy.
It's like he's in the chat saying no.
Like a Game Boy. Shit, damn. I thought it was just like we're making a game that's like a Tiger Electronic handheld game that you could like. Oh, it only plays the one game.
I'll say this from playing on the Razer Quiche on my phone. So it's pretty much like this controller, but elongated.
Yeah,
it's so weird. The controllers, the button. You would think that it feels like a controller, but you're out here and it's a little tighter.
It's like a Switch.
But it's, I guess I don't know. I haven't played
or
Switch
Steam Deck.
enough.
Like it's the same thing. Like it's almost
PSP,
like if you had
all those
a tablet with like a controller on it.
I would love something like a Game Boy Color, that size screen, even maybe a little bigger. Give me the buttons there. And I know there's some like bootlegs with like Raspberry Pi type things on there that this exists.
Yeah.
With the triggers in the back. Maybe even an extra little paddle underneath, like a little, what's it called? Little scuff.
Okay.
And then just...
Doesn't have to be scuff, man. Turtle Beach got it too.
The face buttons on the front, like a normal, the face buttons here. But what do you do with the thumbsticks? I kind of like the original PSP thumbsticks that kind of just glided.
Yeah.
Those would be nice.
Hmm.
I'm not going to Photoshop this one like I did once before.
I almost think, you remember the Game Boy SP?
Love that.
Where
Love
it
the
would fold?
SP. Uh-huh.
I almost think like something like that. Like I love that, but make it where it's got a little bit more of an updated style, where it's the Game Boy SP, it's a foldable console, but it's a little bit more beefier hardware. Maybe it does have one analog, one D-pad. No, two analogs, a D-pad. I feel like there was something that came out that was like that, where it was like the size of maybe the PSP is the small one and the Vita is the bigger one, right? Or is it the opposite?
Yeah. Now I'm looking at what the Beefy Bagel Boy put in our chat earlier. And
PSP is the bigger one.
The Retroid Flip is kind of what you're talking about. It flips open like the SP. It's a wider screen, but it has the triggers and stuff on the back and the face buttons.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yep, that's it. That's exactly what I'm picturing. Oh, and they have one that's like old school Game Boy colored.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
That's pretty cool
Nice.
looking.
You could play PS2. You could do whatever on that thing.
Oh no, that's dangerous.
That's dangerous. We don't need that. But yeah, I'm going to say like I don't want the flip. I just like the color.
The only reason I like
screens.
No touchscreens, and then only one screen.
Only one screen. Wi-Fi just to download games.
I would say Wi-Fi to download games, and maybe you could do like 2-player. Like if you and we want to play, we could connect and play in the same co-op game or something.
I'm with you. Pretty cool.
I like that. I like that a lot.
But now let us know what your perfect handheld would be. Tell us the buttons, tell us the thumbsticks, Wi-Fi, multiple screen, anything you would add to it.
Hell yes. Thank you very much for that question, Soups. John, would you like to let the people at home know what we are doing next week on the podcast?
Next week, we are going to be breaking down, we're going to be covering part 2 of RetroMania. So everything that just came out, everything that just got added to the game, we're going to play it right in front of your face, and we're going to break it all down. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I am so excited. It was a finished game, but now it's a finished game with a period at the end. Like it is a full-fledged game now, and I am very excited to break that down. Guys, as always, you can go to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. Check out the weekly playthrough videos and a whole lot more. GameMarksPod.com/shop for all of our exclusive merchandise. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our shirts. We just dropped a new shirt inspired by the original NES Pro Wrestling, and we got a couple more coming down the pipe. Patreon. What? Is that not right?
No, keep going.
Wait, no. We need to have this discussion because I had a conversation about this with Swoggle. How do you say that phrase?
Coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, coming down the pipe. Pipeline, pipe is fine.
Proceed.
He says pike, like a turnpike.
Oh, we already know. Yeah. No.
Yeah, Swoggle.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/GameMarksPod for this show, early and ad-free access to show notes and access to the live recordings. You could be in the chat right now, hanging out with us during the recording at GameMarksPod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. That was the most pristine, on-time ringing of the bell you've ever done. That was great.
Right
and
down the pipeline.
Make sure to leave us a 5-star rating and a review on both Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to listen to your podcast. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, you can reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. RetroMania Part 2, Johnny Clash. Do that thing.
Game over, Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.